What's up, you guys? Welcome to a very, very special edition of Mix and Kiki. I have the beautiful human before me, Nala Toussaint Simone Toussaint. What's up,
Yes.
Nala?
Nothing much, child. The world is world, honey. I tell you.
Oh, it so is. Before
Yeah.
I hit record, y'all, we are just talking about how just like unexpected, just always expect the unexpected because it's gonna happen.
Facts. Yeah. Yeah. There's always something. I think every time I like get in these days, like something is going on. I think about that night when you were DJing. Oh my God. My partner and I were talking about how like liberating it felt. Like you're DJing in amid a freaking pandemic at a loft, looking at art was one of the best times and one of the best dates I've had. And we're short term. Like we've been in this relationship very for like it's not like years. It's like 3 months. So it was really really good. It was nice.
It's amazing what you can pack in 3 months, especially during a pandemic, girl. This is like a test of all relationships.
I'm telling you. Look, I'm at their place now, child. Yes, yes,
Right.
yes, yes.
Yeah, but you're doing it. Yeah, no, it felt liberating for me. So okay, so what we're talking about, y'all, is Micheline Thomas and her partner Raquel Chevremont. They curated this exhibition at Pioneer
Mm,
Works in Red Hook, Brooklyn. Girl, let me tell you, Red Hook might as well be like Jupiter for me
yeah.
living in Harlem. Like that is a journey. So, and
Oh,
you
so you realize how far it was to travel? I was like, when I was like,
that's
oh, I'm coming from Jersey. Yeah.
yes. It's like y'all are basically like we're curating an exhibition on Jupiter. That's like how it felt to me. So, but anyway, it was a beautiful, beautiful show and just good vibes, good energy.
Hmm.
Like it felt so good because I was DJing. And it was like the first time in like a long time really since the pandemic that I got to play like out in public and on like a really good sound system, So
Yeah.
it felt good. And to be around other people and like your energy, everyone's energy, this was so amazing.
I mean, the way people were two-stepping and dancing. First of all, it for me, it was a suit. It was the all red suit with the floral. I was like that suit. I was like, I need that suit in my life.
That
I
and
need it.
yeah, you're talking about so the person who had the all red suit was Micheline, and the one who had the floral look was Raquel. They were the cutest living their best
Ah,
life. They were you. They were twirling all up and
twirling,
down
honey.
the face.
Twirling. I was so grateful. I believe Raquel when we were leaving said, please come back to the next one. And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
Not making the connection, of course, because I'm so slow, slow.
I
That,
mean,
that they were the one that curated. Oh my goodness, makes totally sense. It was everything. It was epic.
so good.
Epic.
Yeah, and I also like. So I'm an introvert. So you're an
I'm
introvert.
a I'm an extrovert introvert. So I think it's ambivert or something. Yeah, like I'll give, and then I'll go inward. So I'm in the right now in the inward stage because I feel like I'm giving a lot. Um, yeah, so I'm in
Absolutely.
those. Hmm.
You got to know when it's time to go in because otherwise
Yeah.
you get spent, burn out, just great. So this time of like being in, like I has been for me amazing. And I recognize that it can be a struggle. If you're like a hardcore extrovert, like I know it's a struggle. But for me, I'm kind of having like a bit of the reverse where it's just like things are slowly opening back up and I'm just trying to be as gentle with myself as
Mm.
possible. And that event, it definitely felt gentle. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it felt like there were people there, but it still felt, well, what'd
It
you
felt
feel?
gentle.
Gentle? Yeah.
Yeah, I felt it was gentle, and I was telling my person, I was like, it felt like a moment in church where there's this healing circle, and it's just for the small particular group of folks who need it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think about the dance floor and how just folks were moving in their mask, with giving them some space, the call and response. it was all of those things that I was like, wow. It felt like a good Sunday in Harlem. The sun is out and the folks in the streets dancing. And like it had that feeling. It just felt something, it felt familiar yet different all at the same time. And
Mm,
I think what's magical was that folks were making it work. And I think one thing I can always say about black and brown folks is that um we make beauty out of the ugliest times. Hmm.
totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so true. It's like, and yeah, you're so right. The way that you painted that picture is like so the mood. Like that was a total vibe. It was like giving very like Sunday in Harlem, people feeling free, even though like shenanigans may be going on,
Yeah.
like just, yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Hmm.
Okay, wait, let me rewind. So, how we know each other is through so June, wow, let's talk about June, my wife. She and I was like eavesdropping totally because June stays on a perpetual Zoom call. Like that's just like her work requires that. Like she's in the care of our children. Like that is her
Yes.
agenda. And
Yeah.
so, she's like in all these like kind of like focus groups, I call it. And so I was like overhearing you, Nala, you were talking to this like group, right? I was like, this
Yeah.
girl, like she is speaking it, right? And then I was like, wait a minute, her name sounds really familiar because you have a very distinct name, right? Like you don't meet too many people with that combination
Yes.
of names. So I was like, wait a minute. So I had to like look back and I was like, oh, I was looking because I listened to a lot of podcasts. I was like, maybe she was like on a podcast I listened to. And yeah, and you were on Diamond Style listening to that podcast. Why am I like Marsha's
Marsha's like, yes.
Marsha's Play, yes. And I was like, oh yeah, I really like loved that episode because it was just so like flowy and chill and it was
Hmm.
like it was fun and educational, to listen to. So I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta like connect with her. So connect with her.
I'm so happy to be here. And yeah, that's interesting that my name caught your attention. Yeah, that feels good. It feels good because there's that saying, "What is in a name?" So it feels good that like when folks hear that name, that it does. Huh? I don't know that name, but oh wait, I do know that name. Oh, that name feels familiar. It feels good. Because
Yeah.
then everyone's like, "Oh, did you name yourself after Nina Nina Simone?" Or it's like, no, it just felt right. I wanted a name that meant beloved of God. I wanted a name that meant gift. Wanted a name that represented everything from the conception of birth and why my mom named me. And so Nala became in searching for names to reaffirm myself as I walk on my meanness. Nala was a name that came to me when I went because I had given my mother so many different names, and she was like, I was like Diana. She said, "That sounds a little slutty." I was like, "Mom, don't say." I was like, "Mom, don't say
They
that."
will
Not
let you
Diana.
know straight up. Yes.
But something about the name Nala, she's like she got teary eyed and she was like, "Yeah, there was a doll that was in Essence magazine. It took her back to a place, and she was like, I always wanted a doll, and the doll was named Nala."
Oh wow.
And I
Okay.
was like, "Wow!" And she's like, "You remind me of a doll." And my family's from the Caribbean, so they call it pet name. And so my grandmother's pet name is Cutie, and my mom's pet name is Dollface.
Yeah.
Because just I guess because of the rosiness in the face and their eyes are like when the sun hits it on the right day, it's like this nice hazel brown. And so
That is
it's like, yeah, that name felt right.
Yeah, no, your name to me, it gives you strength and grace, like just
Hmm.
balance, strength, and grace.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
okay, I have my little drink over here.
yeah. I won't ask what you're drinking if you don't ask me what I'm drinking.
Oh,
Yeah.
I feel like what you're drinking is probably healthier than what I'm drinking right
Do you have a mimosa in your cup?
now. No, this is, I mean,
Okay.
it's low key healthy. Let me say, there's some alcohol. My mom watches this. Sorry, mom. I am drinking some alcohol. There's a little bit of splash of whiskey in this, but it's also like June made this
Mm.
like it's like a turmeric tonic.
Oh,
Yeah, and I just added a little bit of seltzer to it.
yeah. This and listen, there's something healthy in alcohol. If it, the best elixirs are made with a
With
little bit of alcohol.
okay, good. Thank you for validating. Yes.
So
Cheers to you.
Cheers. And my cup says, all right, all right, all right.
Hmm,
That's what my cup says.
that's what it
And
feels.
inside my cup, in all honesty, is blueberry tea.
Oh, blueberry.
Uh, yeah, blueberry is good for the heart. And so my heart has been feeling heavy. So I wanted something to drink that has, like my
Oh,
heart. Yeah.
yeah.
There's so much going on in the news for Black and brown folks. I mean, Dante, that I was like,
I don't really watch any news,
good, good.
and I know at a certain point I'm gonna have to sort of balance it out because you do need to know some things, right?
Yeah.
And usually how I learn about these things is just my community, right? So even you just now telling me, I don't even know what you're talking about, but now that you're mentioning it, I'm gonna look into it.
Okay, so give yourself some time, I will say, because I didn't know about it until scrolling on Instagram, you start seeing like everyone shares, and I'm like, well, what's the story about this 20-year-old boy? And
Yeah.
it's the same. It's so interesting that amid a pandemic, a year after George Floyd, a year after Breonna Taylor, that there is still this. In doing anti-racism work, I would say there's never a quick fix to racism. It was a long overdue unaddressed symptom that has become a disease that has now become a virus.
Yeah.
Um, and there's a numbing
That's okay,
my
girl.
part. I was like, please, I'm sorry. My
No,
partner.
no, no. Listen, life happens, you guys. You know life happens. Yeah.
Yes, okay. I tried to put my thing on mute. Did you hear the ring in the background?
It was very subtle, but that's okay. That's
Okay.
listen, this is all authentic, like unedited, just key.
Yes. Um. Yes. So. Yeah. I think there's when I say the heart is heavy, there's a just strange fruit. I don't. I'm tired of seeing Black folks be that strange fruit.
Yeah. It's very tiring, just in the soul, like in the spirit. You know what I mean? Like just think even if like you're not necessarily like tuned in, you just kind of almost feel it like energetically, and
Yeah.
it is very exhausting. Which is why we need those spaces. We need that church space, where we get to like kind of twirl around, a warehouse space and just you know
Mm.
get into ourselves and just that vibe, that healing vibe.
Yeah, I want more of that. I want more of that. I want more. Yeah.
Yeah,
I definitely want more of that. That felt really, really good.
yeah. So what else is going on in this? So we are in, it's officially
Yeah.
spring season, time of change and growth and magical things. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I love spring. So spring and fall is one of my favorite weathers. I'm not a fan of summer too much because of the humidity and how hot it goes. And I just something about the oh my my boo always leaves these notes and messages, and I just found another one.
That is like love.
Uh-huh.
That is really cute. Okay, you know what? I'm taking this. So
I was sitting down, I'm looking, I'm like, I'm like, oh, that's really cute. Okay. Um, yeah, that was sweet. Um, what was I saying? Oh, I love spring and I love fall. I'm a fall baby, but there's something about the balance of the breeze and the rain. Because fall brings you rain and it brings you this not too cold, but this coolness that makes you want to cuddle, makes you want to put on your rain boot and go outside on a nice day on a Saturday. And spring is good because you can have good outings. You could be in the park, the pollen may be high, but it just feels good. Yeah, yeah.
so I love heat. So I love summer. I'm like, give me
You love heat.
I do. Not like okay,
Whoa.
within reason. So it can't be like humid. It can't feel like the devil has me in a hug. Like I don't
Right. That's what I'm talking about. It'd be those days that I'm like, oh no, 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 no.
Yeah, no, it's like that's too much. That's oppressive. I don't want to feel oppressed by the weather, but I do thrive in like, I just want to take the layers off. I want to feel the sun on my skin, and I don't, but I want to feel the sun on my skin without the worry of like a chill. Like,
Yeah,
like that breeze that carries that chill, and you're like, oof, like I want to be fully free from the chill.
yeah, yes. Yeah, yeah. Summer. Okay, I think the best time that I've had in the summer is when I think I've traveled. Have I traveled during the summer? Lies. Best summer I had was Kenya's summer because it was really nice. Because their summer is in February.
Ooh, you were in
Yeah,
Kenya in the summer?
yeah, in their heat kind of time. No, I was in Kenya in February, but in terms of weather, summer weather is what I'm saying. The heat and the hotness that I could tolerate was Kenya's weather.
Oh, okay. Was it like a dry heat, like not so much
Yeah,
humidity?
it
Yeah.
was a dry heat. It was definitely a dry heat. And South Africa. I think I went to South Africa in child, I'm getting old.
Don't say that. Don't claim that.
I know. Around April. Yeah, it was around April, around springtime
Yeah.
ish. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have to get into these travels. I'm asking like my friends lately, like, okay, if the world, if there was like no pandemic tomorrow, you didn't have to worry about coins, anything. The sky is the limit. Where would you go?
Oh, that is a good question. I think I am interested in going to the man. I think it's the Mandas. No, Fiji.
Mm, yes.
I think Fiji would be one. Oh, there's so many places because I'm having flashes right now. And I just came back from Hawaii, so Hawaii also is like something that I really enjoyed,
Mm,
like really, really, really enjoyed. But see, I want to play. If I really want to, if I could co-create like how the Dubai is like a made up land, I want an island that has nothing but queer people, queer and trans people, just basking in the sun, looking as fabulous as ever. Um, have their own businesses that are thriving, that it would be a unique island that people would travel just to feel liberation. It would be our own little promised land. So if I could go travel somewhere, it would be that. And with warmness and
yeah.
tropical plants like red ginger plant and birds of paradise and what else? So all the good orchids, all the good things.
Wait, okay, so what will we be eating?
Oh my goodness. So it'll be a mixture. It'll be Afro Asian fusion, right? I love that. I love Caribbean. Yeah, so it'll be all the cultural of black and brown folks
Just
and
roll up one.
Asian. Yeah, yeah, that tastes really good.
That's
Hmm.
like giving me, that's very spicy and saucy.
Yes, and savory. Yes.
Okay, oh, okay,
A little bit of coconut milk, a little bit of this,
yeah.
lots of ginger.
All the seasonings. It would just be every last seasoning.
Yes.
That sounds delicious. And what will we drinking? What's a good? How do you balance out all that?
Oh, no, that's good. That's a great question. I love mojitos. I love, 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 love mojito. That is my go-to. First, when I was younger, my first drink was amaretto sour, I think.
That sounds about right. Midori,
Everybody's,
Midori sour, amaretto,
yes.
berry.
And as I've aged, I've gotten as I'm aging, I'm more appreciative of the milky drinks
Yeah,
like Bailey's and Kahlua. I love
yeah.
coffee, and yeah, I love that mixture.
So
Um,
I had George Clinton on doing a key, and that's what he was drinking. He was drinking like Bailey's and tea.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I am I'm telling you, my morning starts if I have a Bailey's. I put it in everything. I bake with
Oh,
it. Yeah,
okay. You get a little lit, just a little splash of just
it's
that.
just a splash. It just does what it does.
I like that. Yes. No,
And
I,
if folks, use a little THC honey or a
yeah.
CBD for folks,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ooh, girl, see, that's what I can't do. That would have me, that would be so out of commission. That would not work for me. Some people like thrive, you know what I mean? Like they thrive in that. And they're like, oh my gosh, I feel so creative and I can do, that is not.
Oh, I will honestly say, when I have tried, what would you say, edibles, it has completely knocked me out. But there's something with coffee and honey and a little bit of Bailey's that it gives you like this balance of up, but then
Mm,
relax.
that sounds
And
great.
yeah, so it's like you're alert, but you're just like your energy is at the state of.
Okay, that sounds like I need to do that tomorrow. Like I need to start right now because I love a good cup of coffee. Like I
I
used
love coffee.
and I like tea too, but I don't know. I go through my phases, and this is like definitely my coffee phase. Because me, like before the pandemic, we used to do like whole tea parties at our apartment. We would do like afternoon tea,
Wow.
and that was so. I don't know. I love the idea of the afternoon tea. It's so like luxurious, but it's like low key. Like it doesn't like require a lot of like.
I love y'all. Y'all life, please God, if I'm manifesting anything,
No,
allow me to do this. That sounds beautiful. Yes.
you're gonna be at the next one when we have it. It's just such a cute like because the presentation is everything, right? But you don't have to like be hardcore. I mean, June is a chef, but you don't need to be a chef to do like a cute like afternoon tea because it's all like little tea sandwiches and like little bites. But you just like arrange it, you present it in like this really like luxurious way.
Yeah. 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 I can see that. I haven't been to a tea party ever. So when I hear tea party, yes, no,
I mean, okay, I don't
no.
know why I said really, because who is like just throwing tea parties? That's not like a couple.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because my mom, when she talks about times in Jamaica and stuff like that, they would do stuff like that. And Jamaica colonized
Yeah,
British, so
of course.
so yeah. So and I say that because when you said it, I thought about, oh, it makes sense why my grandmother had all these tea sets.
Mm-hmm.
I like tea sets. Like
Yeah.
she had the china, the porcelain with the blue and the white,
Yeah. Oh wow. That's
like nailed to the wall, like hung on the wall, like you put in set, like so that no one, like, but when people came over, she would have her Easter bun and cheese. She would have her biscuit, and she'll bring down those sets. Oh yeah,
oh wow. She was very proper. That's a thing.
very proper.
It's,
Very proper.
it's so proper. No, it's a thing. Like it's okay. This is so random. So random. I did not know we were going to be talking about tea parties in our conversation. The last night. So when I have a very active brain at night. And
Me
so
too. That's when it kicks in.
yes, it's just like, okay, basically my brain is like, girl, we gonna just like reanalyze everything that happened
Yes.
today, like over and over and over again. So for me, and not every night, sometimes I can kind of lull myself to sleep, but a lot of times like I'll need assistance, like I'll need to like listen to something that helps me just like tune out the noise of my own mind. So I was listening again, I listened to a lot of podcasts, and there's this one it's like the history of food. And there was like an episode where the woman, she's like a food historian, and she was talking about like the history of like tea and afternoon tea, and just like how
Ooh.
like it was just like a way for people to like floss, because you would have like these
Hmm.
really beautiful, ornate like tea sets and how there was
Yes.
such a procedure, like such like there's etiquette to like a tea party and all this stuff.
It's about status.
It,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes, yeah. And I'm just like, oof.
So that my mom used to say, there was a saying that, oh, you have arrived. So my family used to talk about, oh gosh, you arrived. Yes, so it used to be a thing, like when my grandmother would have her set up, and my grandmother was a hard, worker, but on Saturdays, particularly, there used to be the older women who would come over, and she would sit down and they would talk, and anytime I would see this, and then
Yes.
You know better not to come into the space or the room because they were having women talk about how the men messed up and what was going on in the world, and that was their space.
Don't do it.
It was like the offloading of like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Do they do that with the tea? Like, so they're like offloading with this like beautiful, pristine tea set. I love that image.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was like women catching up. You know, it makes me think about like now when I think about it, I was like, oh, there was a lot of I saw a lot of women healing circles, and I would never call it that. I would, but when I think about it, I'm like, oh wow. My mom used to sit down and talk with my grandmother. My grandmother used to sit down and talk with my aunt, and we all of them. Then there would be like my other aunts and my other aunts, and they would all just be talking and drinking something hot and tea. My mom was a person like after they made the sorrow, because particularly like around Christmas or Labor Day or Memorial Weekend, there would always be like a little thing that my family would do, like barbecues and stuff like that.
Mm.
But there was something in the preparation of the food that even in the making of the sour, because sour is like hibiscus, right? Right, and the hot, they would drink it hot. Put a little Ray and nephew or something in it, and they would drink it, and they would just talk. And
Mm.
I mean, they would talk from, say if they started 5 o'clock, it would be until like 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and
Mm.
all you hear laughter. Shh. It'd be like,
Right. That is so funny.
I remember being the kid to wake up and go to my mom and then fall asleep on my mom as she would be talking. So you would hear the murmur of her voice and the humming of her chest. Yeah, I remember those things.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wait, was this in Jamaica? No. Where was this?
No, this was in Brooklyn. I am first generation American, so this is Brooklyn, Bushwick area. In the house we were living at the time. Yeah,
Yes. I love it. Yeah, we have history of healing. We have to. We have to. We gotta
yeah,
continue it.
yeah,
Part of our thriving. Well,
yeah.
speaking of thriving and drinking, before we go, I always ask folks to play a little drinking game with me. So, and it's a question. So, who would you want to have drinks with that is either no longer with us, or both?
Ooh, such a good question. Who would I? Mm, I so all right. The, it was a couple of people. So my in my head is
Whoever,
the
how
big.
many?
It's the big supper. You remember the big supper? Yeah. So it's a big supper, but at the table is Martin Luther King.
Mm,
Excuse me, Dr. Martin Luther King. Excuse me, Reverend Dr.
Reverend, yes.
King. Yes, don't forget the Reverend. Um, it would be, yeah, it would definitely be Isla Nettles,
Mm,
which is a trans woman who was murdered 2013 at the table. Um, who else is coming to my mind? It would be one of my family members. Her name was Janet. She passed away from cancer. Well, way, way back. Who else? My great great grand uncle Leslie. He was a jokester. Uh, Muhammad.
nice.
You,
Go for it, girl. Listen,
uh-huh.
five women. Yes.
And the reason why, so my first conversation with Reverend Martin Luther King would be, and Nelson Mandela would be why he never talked about Bayard Rustin helping him.
That's a great.
Because I think the liberation that was required at the time could have carved out space for the both ends,
Yeah,
so that many of our queer and trans individuals wouldn't be struggling today.
absolutely. Yeah, put them to task.
Yeah, yeah. Isla Nettles, I would talk to her about what does radical love look like for her as a trans girl.
Yeah.
hmm Um, and was one of those people that just her smile lit up the space. So she would be at the table smiling and carrying on, but keeping the balance when it got a little bit tough. and Leslie was Leslie was a jokester in my family. And I used to call him the white man because he was when I was younger. They used to have a joke that I used to like. I screamed when I first saw him because I've never I didn't know Billy had. Listen, I don't know if this is telling about anything about race with me. But when I was younger, my mom used to say that I used to be like, the white man is coming in. I was terrified, but he was a fair skinned. My family is very mixed up. Like we have Lebanese, we have uh, Anglo-Saxon Jews, and then the Caribbean. So you have all this mixture of shades of blackness in the family. So when you come together, you're looking at someone and you think they're Chinese, but they're actually Jamaican and speaking patois with you, and you're like, oh. Yeah, so on my Trinidadian side, I have Chinese, and I have Trinidadian and Haitian, and then on my Jamaican side, I have Irish, I have Lebanese, I have Indian. So when you come together, you're like, whoa, this is like a plate full of richness. Like one of my grandmother's dishes was rugler,
Mm,
and everyone's like, "Why you're well?" Her mother, their parents were Jew and from Lebanon, so they passed down the rugla, the kosher meal. So every time we had a Jamaican meal, we always had rugla with her
mm.
carrot cake and her fruit. Like, yeah,
That,
it was
you
something.
know what? That's what blackness is,
Yeah,
especially in the US and in the Caribbean, and other places too. But I say especially that because, we have such a specific history. And
yes,
it's like, yeah, it shows up in so many different ways, shades, all that.
yeah. So I think about that. I think about that supper with all the foods and the richness of it, of
Yeah.
my ancestors, their ancestors, and having those heart to heart conversations about, as long as there's been Black people, there have been LGBTQ folks,
Hmm.
and how much better we can do for ourselves if we be more inclusive and loving on how it used to be.
Yep.
Free of patriarchy, of course, and all that other stuff, but that type of radical love
Mm.
that trans women who are seen as attractive and been attractive are not condemned or beaten to death because someone's attraction. That
Yeah.
is not a conversation about deception, but is a conversation about radical love and beauty. Yeah.
Listen, well, I'm gonna steal a seat at this table. I'll be sitting in the
Yes.
back. I'll just, I'm gonna be a fly on the wall listening to that very necessary conversation.
Yes.
Um, okay, I can hear June in the background. Let me close this door. Hang on one second.
No problem. Hey, Jude.
She's on her perpetual Zoom. Anyway, so while you were talking, or right before you started talking about the supper, I was already trying to prepare because sometimes I know that I've repeated people that I've had drinks with, and I'm like, I can't do that anymore. I got to pick someone new. So I don't know why, but I just thought of Marvin Gaye and Teddy Pendergrass.
Mm,
And I think maybe I thought about them because I was trying to think of like the concept of divine masculine energy, which I don't really think about much, honestly. Like it's always like for me, it's like definitely divine feminine energy because that just needs to like she needs to come through, right? And she needs to like
yes.
her power, all of that. But I do think, I mean, there needs to be examples that needs a lot of healing, right? Like, just what
Yeah.
masculinity means and looks like. And so I don't know.
Yes.
I feel like I want to
Mm,
have a conversation with them about over drinks, of course, over
yeah.
what that is, what that looks like, for them.
Yeah, that sounds great because I always said like, we always talk about toxic masculinity, but we don't often talk about masculinity in the many forms it shows up that is of healing. I don't want us to get into this, particularly when we think about Black men. Toxic masculinity, that should not always be like our go-to.
Hmm.
Uh, because there's healing in, yes, naming hurt and trauma, which we don't often name, and there is a way for us to talk about toxic masculinity. When you said that, I was like, yeah, we don't actually think about masculinity as healthy as and healing, and we have examples of those,
Yeah,
even in the struggle and the pain. So yeah, that I would like to be at that table too.
yes. Listen, we will get our drinks together, our conversations together. Ooh. Well, Miss Nala, thank you for your
Thank you.
energy, your beautiful strength, your grace and strength. That is
Thank
fun.
you.
And cheers to you.
Cheers to you. Clank, 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 clank.